For millions around the world, Paris evokes images of beauty and high fashion. Back in the 1990s and early 2000s, the French capital's modelling industry drew many young women from across Europe and beyond, all chasing dreams of becoming top models.
The modelling industry was a pipeline to traffic young girls.
It seems behind those dreams lurked a grim reality: predators who saw them as easy prey.
There are French ramifications of the Epstein affair on French territory, and ramifications that should not be underestimated.
And it's becoming increasingly apparent that it was a global trafficking operation.
This is not a sex scandal. It's organised crime that lasted for several decades, with the complicity of hundreds of people, including in France.
Hello, I'm Annette Young, the host of the 51%. Behind me is Jeffrey Epstein's former Paris apartment, just a stone's throw from the Arc de Triomphe. It serves as a stark reminder of the late pedophile's connections and close ties with this city. And in a special edition, we'll be meeting survivors and their supporters who are calling on French authorities to intensify their investigations into his activities and also those of his associates. We're travelling to Amsterdam to meet one of the first women who spoke out against French modelling agent Jean-Luc Brunel, a close associate of Jeffrey Epstein. She publicly exposed Brunel's abusive and exploitative practices.
I stepped into this world of, glamour and the capital of high fashion, of course. So I was quite intimidated, but I was also thinking like, okay, this is the place where I want to be as a model.
Former model Thysia Housman is better known these days in her home country of the Netherlands as a TV producer and author. But back in 1991, the young model, 18, then caught the eye of Brunel, one of the top agents in Paris, who insisted she stay at his apartment. Thysia raising concerns with her Belgian agent.
She said it's only for the special girls, and he's gonna also make sure nothing bad happens to you because he's a really nice man and he's gonna keep you safe. One night he gave me a drink. I was spiked with drugs, and I think 20 minutes later I started to feel dizzy and sick. So I told him, I feel sick, I have to lie down. And he said, oh, come to my bedroom, I'll make sure you can lie down there. And I know that I felt like, okay, I don't want to do it, but I felt so bad, and everything was like going round and round. And what I remember is that he pushed me on the bed, then he pushed me backwards. I blacked out, and then I regained consciousness, and he was on top of me and ripping my clothes and touching me everywhere. And the last thing I remember that he penetrated me, and then I blacked out.
Brunel was introduced to Jeffrey Epstein by Ghislaine Maxwell. The two men went on to create the modelling agency MC² in 2005, which allegedly supplied young women to Epstein on a regular basis. In 2019, Thysia decided to go public with her story after Epstein was arrested in the United States. Only then did she make the connection between Brunel and the American financier. Thysia even recalls meeting Epstein during a party at Brunel's home.
This group of old rich men, and there were French, Saudi Arabian and American. And one of them he introduced himself as Jeffrey, and he was staying with this really young Russian girl. He said, Brunel, he said, Jean-Luc is really enthusiastic about you, and he sees a bright future for you as a model, and that's really important. Do you understand how important that is? That a man like that, with that kind of power, he likes you. He sees a future for you as a model. It felt strange. And all the times, he was like touching this really young Russian girl. And that also made me feel uncomfortable.
Her courage prompting others to come forward and accuse Brunel of sexual abuse while facilitating Epstein's trafficking network. But the years of not speaking out took its toll.
The 26 years where I stayed silent felt really bad, and I just thought that not talking about it would make me not think about it. So I just wanted to push it away, what happened to me. And I was really depressed for years. I battled drug addictions.
Jean-Luc Brunel died in a Paris prison cell in 2022, facing charges of raping minors. And while Thysia's case is beyond the French statute of limitations, her Paris lawyer urged her to go public to bolster the testimonies of other survivors.
Back in the day, agencies did not adequately protect models, especially young models who were in vulnerable situations, sometimes isolated from their families, cut off from their home countries, and therefore easy prey for predators. Most of these young women were foreign nationals in Parisian agencies. Very few French women ended up becoming victims or coming forward as victims.
Her lawyer, Anne-Claire Lejeune, now represents around 30 survivors of the Epstein French network. She says the women were abused by different men, including model scout Daniel Siad, who's been the subject of complaints over alleged acts committed in France. His name appears multiple times in the Epstein files. The women's testimonies are helping her to build a clearer picture of how the late pedophile operated.
We know that they met on certain projects, notably Brunel and Epstein, but also other people like Daniel Siad, who at one point recruited young women for Jeffrey Epstein. He will tell him it was for professional purposes. We, and this is what my clients say, emphasize that it was actually sexual exploitation.
One of those bravely speaking out is former Swedish model Ebba Karlsson. The 56-year-old, now living in the US, accuses Siad of raping her when she was 20. Her modelling agency assured her that he was well known in the industry. So when Siad offered her a job in the south of France, she accepted it without hesitation.
He had already started to be very like, you're so cute, you're so beautiful. I'm not interested, I have a boyfriend, so, I was pretty clear on that. So what happened in this pool shack later was, and I think it was the same night, he actually raped me.
The nightmare continued when she says Siad sexually exploited her by introducing her to Gerard Marie, the then head of the elite modelling agency, whom she accuses of raping her too.
Gerard Marie, who was the but the former owner of Elite, welcomed me in, and his staff was working, and then he in his private office, he closed the door, shut the blinds so nobody could see in. So starting to ask me about my dreams, what I wanted to be and why I wanted to be a model. He brought forward all the books, the model books, and showed me, do you know who these famous women are? And I said, yeah, they're the top models, and some of them were Swedish. He asked me, what do you think they did to earn 6 numbers? And as he said that, he leaned forward and pushed his fingers into my vagina. Yeah.
Ebba Karlsson filed a complaint against Gerard Marie in 2020, but it was dismissed due to the statute of limitations. Gerard Marie's lawyer says her client outrightly denies the allegations.
The allegations made by these complainants, which Mr. Marie strongly denies, reportedly date back nearly 40 years. They have already been reviewed by the judicial authorities and were dismissed without further action. Mr. Marie now wishes to be able to live in peace, with his privacy respected and surrounded by his loved ones.
It remains unclear whether there was any direct connection between Marie and Epstein.
At the time, there was no talk of a link between Gérald Marie and Epstein. Today, some victims are asking that this link also be investigated by investigators, because we've seen that in the late 2000s, there was talk of Gérald Marie transferring a number of shares to Jeffrey Epstein. It was a transfer that ultimately wasn't one of the actual transactions. But there was talk of Jeffrey Epstein acquiring a stake in the elite agency.
Ebba Carlson has also filed a complaint against Daniel Siad. His lawyer did not respond to our request for comment, but in a post on X last February, Siad refuted all allegations.
I was introduced to Jeffrey Epstein, and he seemed to be someone very professional. Over the years, we discovered the man committed many atrocities, such as paedophilia. Thankfully, I never in my life introduced him to any models, underage or of legal age, who were ever abused. So I have nothing to feel guilty about.
While the Epstein files have dominated global headlines, the late sex offender's connections to France have largely gone under the radar. Even French President Emmanuel Macron has downplayed the story.
This is a matter that mainly concerns the United States. Yes, there are French figures who are mentioned, and so the justice system will do its job, but I think it mainly concerns the US.
However, French authorities are now pursuing two investigations. One into Epstein's financial ties with former French Minister Jacques Lang and his daughter Caroline, and another focused on human trafficking.
Epstein understood that France was a permissive country. He understood that France was a country where there was a rape culture, where rapists aren't always punished. It should also be noted that from 2008 to 2016, he was paying taxes in France.
Homariah Celia founded the French NGO Innocence in Danger in 2019 and was the first to bring attention to Epstein's links to France. She's calling for a much broader investigation into Epstein and his associates.
Jean-Luc Brunel was not chosen by Jeffrey Epstein by chance. First of all, he was very well known in the modelling world. It was part of Epstein's modus operandi, to corrupt men by offering them young girls, as he had done elsewhere. But I think Brunel helped him a great deal. And not just Brunel. It's important to understand that Epstein didn't have just 1, 2, or 3 recruiters. There were also women who acted as recruiters for him.
Still, survivors like Ebba and Thysia worry their voices will go unheard, since many of their cases fall outside the nation's statute of limitations. Under French law, allegations of sexual abuse must be filed within 20 years, or within 30 years when the victim was a minor.
We've been fighting for 6 years, trying to find more victims, to help more people, and just create more awareness about this, what I think is a global pedophilia elite group that's been active all over the world. It was shocking that the legal system in France didn't do more. I thought we felt very betrayed.
A lot of victims, they are really young, and it takes them until they're in their 40s, before they start to realize, hey, this is something that was done to me. So I really think that statute of limitation is something really, I don't understand it really honestly, because it's only serving the rapist, it's only serving the predator and never the victim. We as a society, we know what happened to these girls. We know all these men who were involved, who did horrible things, and nothing is being done about it. Not in the States, not in France, not anywhere. We have to hold them accountable.